in the game and can attack air and ground is something we're definitely going to be very careful of giving too many buffs to. I think we feel pretty good about the Muta right now. You guys want to say anything on the Muta?
Yeah, because the Muta speed is so fast, and the other two units you mentioned, the Marine and the Marauder, are both very attack move friendly units. So there will be a difference at the start, I think, in using these units. But as players learn to make use of the speed advantage of the Mutalisk, we feel the balance might actually be better.
Okay.
Hi. I'd like to find out if you can tell us, when will fully customizable key bindings be added to the game, and why didn't it have them in the first place? Because I've tried the different hotkey layouts, all of them, and I think I could do better if I could set the keys up my way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think we've had that feedback from a lot of players. The reason it didn't make it for the game was, we were 6+ years in development. We didn't want to hold it any longer. And we didn't feel like customizable key bindings was a reason to delay the game. So we held that back, and we've been working on it. I've actually seen the design in progress. It is being worked on right now. There is UI currently in our internal builds where we're testing it. As you can imagine, the UI for custom key bindings is not simple. Actually, I would say it's insane. It's absolutely nuts. And our biggest fear is this giant landmine that new players will step into. They'll accidentally bind a key, and then they'll have no idea how to do anything anymore. So I've been working really hard on the design of it and on the engineering. I don't have a date for you exactly, but I can tell you it is under construction. It's actually pretty far along. I think we should have something out to you guys pretty soon.
Okay, thanks.
It's just funny that you asked that because I just released a hotkey trainer like 1 week ago. So check out for that on North America if you want to train on that. But anyway, okay, my question is slightly off topic. It's about custom maps. I know you were talking a little bit at Blizzcon 2009 about the custom map marketplace that might eventually come out and maybe premium maps and stuff like that. And I put a team together with the hopes of making the absolute best maps out there eventually when that marketplace opens up and releasing really awesome stuff.
Awesome.
And I'm just wondering if you have any more details about that, when it might be coming out. I don't want to hold you to anything that you say, just any hunches that you have.
Yeah, no, I can tell you it's not coming out in the immediate future. It's probably closer to either a patch in Heart of the Swarm or Heart of the Swarm to be the soonest we'll be able to get that out to you. There's a lot of challenges we have to get that going, but I love that you're putting a team together. We know that the fires are burning. We know that people want it. We'll try to get to you as absolutely as soon as we can. It's one of our top priorities going forward.
Awesome, thank you very much. And also, the 10 megabyte map limit, is there a chance for that to change in the future as well?
There are many arguments. There's throwing of chairs. It's been really rough in the office over this issue. We are consuming a lot of our storage very quickly, but we'll see. It's definitely something we're always talking about. I think I have like a weekly conversation about that at this point. It's definitely a topic for us, so we'll take a look at it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, by the way, love your guys' game.
Thank you,
been
sir.
playing since I was a kid for the original Starcraft. But what I'm kind of asking about is like the early gimmicks of the games, specifically like the proxy rush for the Protoss, as well as like the early Thor rush with like the single Thor with the repairing. How do you guys usually account for that with catching those? And it felt like it took a while for those to get fixed. I mean, do you see those come out? You try to get those fixed as possible, or does it take a while for you guys to kind of understand what's going on?
Those are some of the easiest strategies for us to fix. So when we're playtesting internally, we're more focusing on the more complicated scenarios where you have multiple bases running, what the 200 versus 200 pop armies are doing against each other, and making sure that all races can stop rushes and stuff like that. But internally, we don't try as many proxy rushes or six-pool rushes and stuff like that because they are very easy for us to fix once we see there is a problem.
Sometimes. I agree with that 95% of the time. I think there's the occasional one. We've had some that were really touch and go because a lot of the units you use in the early game to rush are also used to block other rushes, right? And so it can get really challenging. But for the most part, I think we've been able to crank those out pretty quick. I think there was a Terran SCV rush that was actually probably our scariest one with Marines behind the SCVs. The SCV's a wall, and that led, I think it was in the late beta, led to actually a nerf on the SCV health. But at the same time, the SCV was essential to stopping some other rushes that could happen against them. Definitely, one of the challenges we have is We want those rushes to be somewhat viable. We want them to be available. We feel like that makes the game scary from the first minute you click on anything in the game into the last. A lot of games are trying to get rid of those early rushes, and they say, rushing is bad. We don't want it, right? I don't know, that's my other developer voice, I guess. But we don't like that. We want the rush to be possible. So it's always a tough call, and we're definitely welcoming your guys' feedback, whether a particular rush is still too easy to do and still too hard to block. In many cases, it's the key of detecting it and using your workers to fight back. But it's definitely always sort of a touchy one because a lot of new players get rolled by these, and they're pretty unhappy when that happens.
And because they're such a core part of the game, we try our best to teach players how to block these rushes, and our multiplayer challenges is actually a good tool for you to use to learn to counter these rushes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Hi, I think you guys did an awesome job balancing the game, so thank you so much with all the races. My question is very simple. I always go into a bit of a nerd rage when I get mass Hydra rushed. I play Protoss, so I'm wondering if you guys can just real quick give me some strategies. And don't say Templar because, I don't know, I have better luck against Terran, but when it comes to Zerg, I just get destroyed when I get mass Hydra.
Well, the main downside of mass Hydras, especially on the offensive, is that they're really slow. So they can't kite anything off of creep. So, did you say you're playing Protoss?
Yeah, Protoss,
yeah, so even just using mass zealots with stalkers shooting, over-the-shoulder shooting, or even combined with sentries with Guardian Shield that cuts down the Hydra DPS by quite a bit, should be good enough for you. But eventually you're going to have to get out the splash options. If the scale becomes really big, say if he brings in 50 Hydras, obviously a clumped pack of 50 Hydras is a little too much for only tier 1 units to handle. So if you don't like using Psy Storm, then maybe you can probably try using Colossi.
Yeah, Colossi aren't too bad. They work pretty well on attack move. It can be effective, especially, like you say, if he doesn't have a bunch of Corruptors out, that's also an option for you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. I love this game. It's great. You guys, and all of your history of all of Blizzard games, you're great at balancing everything. So one of my questions really is, basically as it goes to the score screen, are you ever going to expose at a more atomic level how you calculate what the scores are on that screen, or allow users to look at that data in their own replays to sort of analyze that stuff more statistically, sort of the way that you guys do with the matchmaking and stuff?
Are you talking about like your hidden rating, or are you talking about just what happens on the score screen?
Well, both things. Like whether or not, like how many units of each type you built in the game, how many units did how much damage to what in the game, things like that. So
there is not enough room in here for me to talk about that score screen. We had a lot of plans for that score screen, which just didn't make it. Again, we made decisions. Do we want to hold this game even longer, or do we want to make a better score screen? And we decided, you know, we're going to put it out with the score screen we've got, but there's a lot more we can do with the score screen. I totally agree with that feedback. And we have lots of things we sort of have in plan. We want to give you better analysis of your game. We want to provide you with some more hints as to what you could do better, try to provide you with some more intelligence that's built into the game, and like you say, give you access to some of the more fundamental numbers. Now, most of those numbers you're seeing on the screen are just for cost. So if you see a unit value that's not a specific unit value, it's just how many gas plus minerals you did. So that stuff is kind of exposed, but I agree. I think we can do better with that score screen. I think you can look for that stuff in Heart of the Swarm. That's something we're definitely be pushing forward. There has been some talk of some of that stuff making a patch, but I'm not sure. It might be more of a Heart of the Swarm kind of revision to that screen to give you a lot more details to help make you a better player. So you finish a match, you lose, you want to know, right? And right before you launch another game, you don't want to watch the replay right away. I think that's a great bit of feedback, and I totally agree with it.
I guess as a second part follow-on to that, are you ever planning on an ability to sort of see what the score screen is in a replay without having to watch through all the end to get to the score screen? So you can kind of see that as like more games all at once rather than just one at a time?
We might be able to figure something like that out. The challenge in a lot of cases with these sort of suggestions is the UI issues. How insanely crazy does our UI really look? Does it end up like kind of a WoW Raid UI where it's totally nuts, and that's not what we're going for. But I think it's a great idea. I'd love to enhance the replay feature to give you more insight into what's going on in the game. I think it's a cool suggestion.
Okay, one more thing.
Sorry, man.
Thanks. I love this game. Anyway, it's
Thank you, sir.
Hopefully it's a simple question, but I play mainly in Diamond Leagues. I mean, not that I'm great. I'm not pro or anything, but one thing I've noticed in 1v1 and 2v2 is that Terran and Toss, and I'm sure this has been brought up, so I'm sorry if it's been brought up before, But Terran and Toss seem to have not necessarily a great advantage, but a huge advantage with choking off at the early game. And I play mainly Zerg. That's kind of the only race I play. And I was just wondering if kind of the design for Zerg was that Zerg must out macro their Protoss and Terran counterparts. And also is the creep kind of a complementary feature for the Zerg. They can move faster on so that they can defend a little bit better and have a slightly better. So kind of a weird question, but just wondering if that was a conscious decision for every Blizzard map to have a choke point that Zerg must out macro and the Terran and Toss can kind of defend against the early fast rush from speedlings like that.
Yeah, so we tried to make every race as unique as possible. And in this case, as you said, we want the Terran to be the choky race, and that's why we added options such as lowering supply depots to make the walling off easier. And on the case of the Zerg, we actually made a conscious decision. For example, spine crawlers can be uprooted and be moved, but we made a conscious decision so that Zerg can't block off a choke point by making it so that the spine crawler's radius is actually smaller than the footprint, which means there's no way for spine crawlers to block off a choke point, right? So that was our goal. And in terms of maps, we tried to balance. Make the maps so that they're all balanced and fair for all different types of races that we have. And I guess having those choke points was a result of this, much more so than about what the maps wanted to be, I guess.
But I think your question, you've already answered it for us. You're totally right. I mean, our goal was to say Zerg are the swarm race. We want them to out macro. We want them to win. We wanted to see like they cheated, like they just came in with way too much garbage and just overran me. And you're also totally correct that creating those creep highways is a core part of how we were trying to set up Zerg. To be honest, we had no idea if it would work when we went to beta and even beyond. But we're pleased to see that the sort of systems we set up are working the way that we sort of thought that they would. At the end of the day, you guys it's really all in your hands now how it actually plays. But that was sort of a goal to say that Zerg at tier 2 couldn't easily push a choke point, right, that was well defended. So at that point, they would have to out macro. And then once they get to tier 3, hopefully they either have some of the tools that they need in their units or they've just got way too much stuff. And it really puts the onus on the other races to keep the pressure up.
Hi, my name's Benjamin Mughal, and good afternoon. I just have a question about the balance, and I just wanted to ask, is it going to become like World of Warcraft, where every single Tuesday we get another patch that makes one race overpowered? I mean, the Roach thing was great for some players, but for others, I can defend a choke point with 10 carriers, and the Roaches destroy one building and go straight in and kill the Nexus. You know, just because they have so much HP now. And you know, I know you guys are working hard, but I just want to know in the future.
No, I think that's a very fair question. So we've done, I think, a couple of balance patches this month, which is a little more than I think we would like, and we had a few bugs, and we did a few more patches as a result of that. We are going to slow down, and I think we've already slowed down a little bit relative to beta. Beta, I think we were just machine gunning patches out as fast as we wanted to because we could. Nobody had paid for the product yet. Everything was free, right? We didn't have a customer base that was playing the game in tournaments, even though they were in some cases. That wasn't the deal we had made with them. It's like, this is for testing. But as we go forward, we're hoping to slow that rate. Now, if we find out we got balance problems, we are not going to be chicken. And I'm gonna patch once a week if I have to get the balance to be correct. But that's not our goal. Our goal is to try to stabilize, to try to settle down. We're feeling pretty good. As we showed in the presentation, the Protoss versus Terran matchup is making us a little nervous. And that's one we're going to be looking at. But we're hoping to slow it down so that we're not hitting you so often. So I don't know exactly, but our goal is definitely not that problem. The other thing I'll say, too, is WoW has challenges that we don't even begin to have, right? WoW is balancing for PvE. They're balancing for PvP at the same time. They have a ton of classes in play. They've got tons of builds on those classes that are possible. We've intentionally kept our game a little smaller. We've kept our game to 3 races. We've kept the unit counts from 12 to 14 per race on purpose so we could do this. We could very easily provide more game. Hey, here's 5 races and 17 units per race. And then we'd probably be doing more of what you're describing, and that would, in our perspective, not be such a great gameplay experience for a game that's designed only, principally, beyond the solo campaign, to be a PvP experience. So hopefully not, but we'll see.
And just to comment on the current state of the balance, we feel the balance is very tight, and the example you brought up is actually really good because right before this last patch came out, a lot of people felt Terrans can't, Zerg can't beat Terrans, Zerg can't beat Protoss, but we made this small tweak of making Roche range from 3 to 4, and that small change made it so that players are actually saying the opposite, especially the